Made in China. Von der Werkbank der Welt zum größten Konsumentenmarkt und Technologieführer. Eine Reise durch das Leben, Business und die Kultur im Reich der Mitte mit Damian Maib und Thomas Derksen.
A very warm welcome to our Made in China podcast. We are in the beautiful Carlo Woods building in Shanghai with a view of the Oriental Pearl Tower. And the last 30 minutes before the recording, we already did a lot of analyzing of this building because we have an expert today here. Welcome to our podcast, Zino Helmlinger.
Hi guys, pleasure being here today.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming. We should analyze our office space absolutely more in detail also after the podcast. Looking forward to that.
We'll give you a few tips, don't you worry.
It'll be amazing. So, we usually start off with 3 quick questions. The first one being, what did you want to be when you were a child?
Oh, wow. Well, I wanted to be a few things, but I think one of the funniest one was just being the husband of a rich woman. I must have been 8 years old or 9 years old, and I just, my mom was asking me what I wanted to become, and that was pretty much what I came up with, So, but also the usual, pilot and fireman, and I saw adventurer, traveler. So that was a little bit of my KPI. And then, a lot of things happened, obviously.
So, and nowadays, how would your best friends describe you with 1 or 2 words?
Overconfident, speak too much, but reliable and true to his words. Perfect.
What is the best advice you have ever received?
Canalize your flamboyance. Yeah, I was always a little bit of an extrovert child, and I always had extra power, extra energy, very active at school, overactive at school. So unfortunately, my mom had to come many times to meet the principals. It was my first job. I was working on the retail side. I was taking care of the expansion of a French brand in China back in 2007. And my boss, who was running the global expansion of stores, told me, Zino, you are obviously you have great potential and we would love to have you around, but you're going to have to learn how to canalize that flamboyance, because that energy is power, but it can also be a disruptor. So I wish you find the right way to deal with it. And that was a good advice.
Yeah, and also very deep in our podcast. I think this was the deepest advice we'd ever had in our podcast. But this energy is like, as you said, it can be a disadvantage, but I think in many ways it also was a big advantage for you and your career, right? Because now you are the executive director and the head of retail for CBRE in China. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and also about your journey to China, please.
All right, so my journey to China then, let's rewind a bit. I've always been a big fan of chow yun fat and Beijing duck, and my mom used to buy me Beijing duck for my birthday at dinner. She'll buy the whole thing and cook it, and then she'll bring it home, and I had the best dinner of the year, right? I would love that. And obviously I was watching a lot of movies, just like every teenagers, and I love John Woo movies. So Chow Yun Fat was one of my favorite actor, especially the Hong Kong gangster movies. So I was fascinated by that, and I was always attracted to the exotism of Hong Kong, China, this little bit of a this little bit of Silk Road. And when I had the opportunity to do my first internship, I did it in Hong Kong back in 2000. I was 18 years old, and when I came, I received a big slap in my face, and I knew I wanted to be here. So I came back in 2005. That was 20 years ago, and I was a student back then. I just got my master in marketing, and I wanted to further learn Mandarin, and this is how it all started. So I went to Beijing, I learned Mandarin, I then came to Shanghai in 2006, and basically I fell into retail through an encounter. I met a Beijing girl that wanted to develop school. It was called Top Mandarin School, and we met. She told me, Zino, you got a big mouth, and I got a few ideas on how to develop the business, so why don't we partner? You take care of sales and I take care of the operation. And I told her, wow, okay, let me look into that. And this is how we started. So we launched Top Mandarin School, and I took care of the BD. She took care of recruiting teachers, and soon we had 120 students. And I came to one of these meetings. He was the Middle East and Asia director of Promod, a French fashion brand, mid-high positioned. He was looking for a course. I came to the meeting, after 1 hour of chit-chatting and telling him, which course he should take, how many hours. We spoke about rugby, spoke about football, life, future. And he told me, hey, why don't you join us? We got some big plans here. And he signed a contract for Top Mandarin School. I signed a contract for Promod. And this is how my retail life started. Now, to jump on your question regarding CBRE and what we do, I've been 10 years on the client side, and I've been approached by multiple brokers all my life, obviously, because I first took care of China, then I took care of Asia, opened more than 100 stores doing that in multiple markets under franchisee, direct or JV agreement, depending the countries. And I've always been a bit disappointed. Brokers were providing me options, very financial centric, and not listening much. So when after 10 years, I became a bit tired of opening stores, I basically quit my job. I was working for a Swedish/Hong Kongese brand back in the days. I got approached by CBRE right away. I got a call, and I wanted to take 6 months of sabbatical, break. And Rebecca, she was taking care of retail back in the day. She called me and said, hey, why don't you join us, CBRE? Why don't you do brokerage? And this is how it all started. So I joined CBRE back in 2017, but with a client mindset. And I think it's a little bit of a unicorn case, because most brokers will start as, in commercial real estate brokerage right after the university, and then they will be poached by clients, right? So they will end on the client side, while I did the other way around. And that gave me a little bit of a edge when meeting clients with a team, right, on how to be very client-centric. And basically, what we do in retail is we optimize our clients' portfolio, whether on the tenant side or on the landlord side. So we help a lot of new-to-market brands to open in China. This is one of our, bread and butter. But we also help them with their stores assessment. So we help a lot of existing IPs, big MNCs. A lot of them I can't name because of NDAs, but the big ones. And we provide them scorecards on whether or not they should renew their locations and why, and or extend or relocate. And basically we then help them with the next steps. We also have brands with financial advisory, because I got a bit of a passion for that. I love, new ventures. So we help, a lot of F&B brands to raise money, but, typically valuation between 100 to 300-400 million RMB, because, it's a little bit of a small circle. And we help brands to find partners, franchisees, licensees, JV partners, and so on. Now on the landlord side, we help to reposition project, and we also help them with their leasing. We focus on first-year cities, obviously, and our job is to impact the urban landscape of, China, basically.
Wow, fantastic. Sounds like a very exciting job to do, and you obviously have a lot of passion for that. What do you find so fascinating about the Chinese retail market, and what makes it so different maybe from the Western markets? Let's look, say Europe, or is it really so different? I know, speaking from an e-commerce and marketing perspective, everything is different in China. But how is it in your industry?
Yeah, one of the first advice I give to our clients who come to China is don't consider China as one of your 30s country that you enter, or 40s or 50s. And don't you come to China just thinking that the country will adapt to your brand. It doesn't work like that. China, when it comes to the retail market, is a little bit like, planet Earth and planet Mars. China is a extremely competitive market. And obviously, once you have a good ideas, within 6 months, you got a lot of, competition. So you need to have a strong differentiator. You used to have a lot of brands that will announce like openings of 100 stores per year, 150 stores per year. All of that is gone now. I think, today retail is quality over quantity. When you compare to the European market, I guess people don't expect when they come into the China market, the level of localization, the level of correction, the transformation of their concept, of their branding, of their marketing, of their online e-commerce approach, of the design, of the storytelling that it needs to be done in order to be successful. I think it's uncomparable.
When you came here and you were talking about different properties, you said one sentence, and the sentence was, it's a good time to invest, a good time to buy. But being a good time for buyers or for investors, it also means it's a bad time now for landlords or for people who want to sell. From your professional view, how is the state of Chinese and Shanghai real estate now in 2025?
This is a $1 million question that everyone is wondering, right? Is this a good time to buy? Will it keep dipping? I think, we have such a population with such a productivity, such level of education. There is stoicism, Chinese work and they can work hard. China can only grow. And it's one of these few markets globally that have a bright future. So right now in 2025, I think that most of the storm have passed. The Chinese government put a lot of new incentives into place and some pretty smart ones, which are impacting the economy favorably. And we already see that there's some good signs of recovery. Of course, the recovery is not obvious for everyone as of today, but I'm pretty confident by the end of the year we shall see some pretty nice turnaround. So is it a good time to invest for retailers, for brands? Without a doubt. Right now, especially if we talk about Shanghai, extremely well-developed city, and every piece of square meter is already quite expensive, right? From a brand retailer perspective, as well as a resident here. So this is one of these momentum where brands still have an edge in the negotiations with landlords. That edge is not going to be for long. That lever is here, but within 2 years, it's going to be a landlord rep market again, and it's right now where you can get great deals. You can get longer lease, you can potentially get a bit of subsidy support through free rent, you can get some pretty good discount depending on how creative and different your retail concept is. It's a good time to invest. So as we represent a lot of brands that right now, as a matter of fact, from the second half of 2024, we receive a lot of new market brands owner who just, call and say, okay, we can feel it. It's in the air. Let's secure a flagship because I don't want to miss a train. So as a matter of fact, we're doing pretty well right now. We have a lot of demands for new to market brands and flagship concepts. So yeah, it's a good time.
That's good to hear. Talking about flagship concepts and especially, the retail industry, which is definitely within your absolute expertise. There are so many shopping malls in Shanghai. Yeah, there are great ones, there are bad ones, there are better ones, whatsoever. Only a few of them can probably attract enough customers, right? And if I look at the Taiko Hui or Taiko Li at the New Bund, right? It's massive. Luxury brand next to a luxury brand, and at the weekend it's always packed. Yeah? But then there's shopping malls which are empty. So how do you see the differentiation here, and what will happen to this kind of shopping mall landscape in China, or let's say in the tier 1 cities?
Okay, there is definitely a lot of offers on the market when it comes to projects, retail projects. Let's not forget that real estate represents 30% of the GDP of China. It's been one of the furnace of the economy here. So obviously, we see a lot of this project all around, not just retail, but if you want to focus on that segment, there's a lot of competition in every corner because it had helped in the past the economy to, boom. Today, obviously, with the retail demand that decreased for the past 2 years, there's been high occupancies in shopping malls, and new projects are still being built. So how do I see the market evolving? There's definitely going to be some collateral damages. There's definitely going to be some repositioning of shopping mall that might have to reconsider, the line of business and their business that they want to be in. Not everyone will have the capacity to be a shopping mall in the future too, so they might have to be creative on that aspect. And also, we in China right here, the Chinese consumers are becoming very sophisticated. It's not what it used to be back in the day, so their will is also evolving extremely fast. When it comes to downtown shopping mall, most of the operators and most of the project are a little bit in a safe zone because you don't have too much offer. But when you come to, the peripheric and the decentralized area, of course, this is where the damages is the highest. So overall, I will say that, shopping mall owners and developers will have to be very creative in differentiating themselves in order to, find a way to develop that loyalty to their local community. It's going to take a lot of digging and, obviously a lot of time and investments, but it can be done. This is a time for changes. So again, I believe that, whether you're on the landlord side or on the retail side, it's a good time to look at retail and consider new options.
Very interesting. And Damian and me, we do most of our business online. You're mostly on the other side, the offline. And I'm very interested from your point of view, how important are physical stores still for brands, and how will this develop or change in the next 5 years maybe?
Yeah, so, I've received that questions. This is a question that I've heard for many years, especially 5 years back. 5 years back, I was receiving questions such as, hey, do you think offline retail is dead, right? So I think that post-COVID and, post 2022 event in Shanghai, lockdown and so on, people need community. They need to mingle. They need to go out. They need to touch. They need to feel. They need to socialize. I think that it's been very beneficial to offline retail, as a matter of fact. When it comes to e-commerce can be a powerful tool. We have a lot of online brands who are now looking for offline locations, using their online data to pick their offline locations, which is actually an edge in the business, right? Because they have all this data of neighborhoods and consumers and so on. So it's actually, giving them a lot of advantage when picking their locations. I think that online can't live without offline because there are industries within retail that needs the offline. They are intertwined, they are entangled within each other. They live on each other's. So I believe that the two are linked, and I also believe that any new retail brands entering the China market, as well as any existing operator, need to find a way to play with both of them wisely in order to have the maximum impact when it comes to sales density, performances, and brand image, brand recognition.
Yeah, data and being very quick to adapt and respond to the market, and the market changes brings me to the question about foreign brands, and also Chinese domestic brands in the retail landscape. Have you seen any big change here over the past couple of years to who you're renting the locations to? Has it maybe been more foreign brands in the past? Is it getting more local Chinese catching up? How is this? Because in e-commerce, we have this all the time, right? We've got Chinese players coming up. They're stealing market share from the back in the past, more dominant international players. How is it offline, actually?
Okay, so our clients have definitely evolved over the past few years. Again, lots of changes with COVID. Obviously, right now we have a lot of organic growth. We have a lot of organic retail brands who are developing within the China market, and maybe less new to market brands. I speak for 2024, obviously, because 2025 and end of 2024, we've seen some changes already on that end. But you definitely have a lot more Chinese retailers who are becoming bold who are becoming structured, who has a real, well done business model, very impacting, very eye candy, visual, and who are also very loud when it comes to marketing, whether it's on Xiaohongshu or Red or TikTok and the like. So I think that, we can see that China now is even more of a laboratory when it comes to retail than it was in the past. Back in the days, people would be very mainstream in the way that they open their concepts. They will basically put a store and a cashier and put a few cells, and you will do your visual merchandising, correct a bit your show windows here and there, replenish your stock, and that's it. Right now, if you do this in 2025, you don't have a bright future in China, because there's so much more factors that you need to take into considerations. So my reply to you, Damien, is when I look at retail today, and when I come back, in Europe, obviously, and when I see where retail is going there, I will say that, we're a bit having a retail 2.0 here. We see a lot of experiential concept. It's only but beneficial for the future of retail. Back in the days, Chinese brands will go abroad and they will study flagship in New York, in Paris, in Rome, in Berlin, name it. Right now, we have a lot of brands who are coming in China, in Shanghai, and who tell me, hey, Zino, I've learned about this concept. I've learned about that new to market brand. Can you bring me there? We want to study it. And they're the one taking notes, the Americans, the Germans, the Chinese, the Italians, the English, you name it. So I think that the roles have inverted. The Chinese are becoming very creative and very bold in their approach to retail. And I'm enjoying myself witnessing it, because it's very passionating and it's very fulfilling to see the amount of depth that goes into concept now in Shanghai and beyond.
Yeah, and Shanghai is a great place to do this, to come and learn here. And from a non-professional point of view, I'm walking my dog the whole time, and then I see, this area was very dead before, now it's alive again, and the other way around, it was a very lively area again, now it's dead, and it's constantly changing. And this is also part of your business, right? So you also are working on some revitalization projects. I'm very curious about this. What is your strategy behind it when you see like a place that doesn't work as it used to be? What is your strategy to make it alive again?
Okay, we do some revitalizations of districts in cities, and it's there's a lot of work to be done. Obviously, it takes a lot of assessments before providing a report on repositioning to commercial, residential, cultural, artsy concept. Because when you revitalize a neighborhood, it's not just retail; it's an ecosystem. And we go beyond retail. And if you really want to correct, or I would say elevate a neighborhood, transform it, you really need to think of every factors that will impact that community, not just retail. So it goes beyond that. I think when we first, go into that kind of work, we really need to get a little bit of a higher platform and open our horizon a little bit wider. Because right now, obviously, the competition is high. There's a lot of districts and there's a lot of cool streets. There's a lot of cool buildings that have been revitalized. So everyone wants to do this, and it's so hard. But, there's a few things that are working also on the online business, as you know. The storytelling. The storytelling is extremely important to Chinese consumers. The history, the DNA of the buildings, the DNA of the neighborhood, the DNA of special places within, it can be a park, it can be a temple on which you can really jump. It's a platform. It's something that helps you really escalate the project and give it depth, but also a little bit of a poetic vibe. So I think that when we help Tu's neighborhood into transforming or elevating, we try to play with all Tu's factors, and obviously we need the support of the governments, because a lot of these buildings have restrictions, right? But today, for example, if you go core downtown, you have some great project like Zhangyuan, which is between Wujiang Road and Weihai Road, or not too far away from Nanjing Road and Maoming Road. And yes, it's all Shikumen building that are 100 years old, that used to be resi, and that are now, for retail, office, residential, and also art use. And I think that this is what the Chinese consumers are looking for. Those projects still need time to mature because, it takes a lot of time to impact an urban landscape, right? It takes also a mindset to correct. You can't just stop on a concept and people will change their way to look at it. But I think that it gives us a lot of hope on how the cities are evolving from pure retail landscape perspective. And governments and districts now are extremely supportive of that because they see the beneficial impact, not only on a commercial standpoint, but also on a tourism standpoint, on an office standpoint, on a residential price standpoint. Everything is impacted positively once you curate a project, a heart of a project somewhere. All the veins basically spread all around the neighborhood. And it's now the future, I believe, of retail. This is where we're heading. So a little bit more street, a little bit of more cultural, architectural concept and project that are touching the Chinese heart, that make people proud, and that speak to them beyond retail.
Yeah, and if I personally look, for example, at Qiantan, here the new bund in Shanghai, we look at Taikoo Li, I think it's called, right? There you have, I think, exactly that mixture that you just talked about, right? Beautiful shopping environment, great restaurants, great residential buildings, right? Is that the current and the next in-place, trendy place, the go-to place for brands and residentials to go to? What is your top 3 locations you would consider like that in Shanghai?
Qiantan is definitely, one of the high potential growth neighborhood district community, right? It's going to go very far away because, there's a bit of a new CBD being built over there. Obviously, it's going to take time to mature as well for the reason explained. You need to office store to have a full occupancy, and you need all other retail developers to come up with strong concept. But yeah, Qiantan has a bright future to come. What are the cool different retail locations to go? Well, right now, back in the days when I came to China, it used to be Nanjing East Road. People will come to China and they will walk on Nanjing East Road. We're not too far away from here, as a matter of fact. And that'll be one of the first things you will do, right? And not just you, but also the Chinese tourism. As a matter of fact, you have a lot of second, third, fourth, fifth years tourists that used to do that. It was a go-to place. This have changed with the growth and the change and the transformations of some other districts, like the former French concessions, for instance. Right now, the people that used to walk Nanjing East Road are now going on Anfu Road, on Wukang Road, on Wuyuan Road, on Changlolu, Fuminlu, and they're basically, looking for constant surprise from a retail concept. It can be a historical building. It can be, a fancy ice cream with a teddy bear hanging. It can be anything you want it to be. I mean, right now, street is back, in retail. And it's one of the after effect of, COVID. People want to be outside. So they really want to experience their retail, but also their social friend. You have tour walk now of the city, where you walk with guys. You have a lot of foreigners that do that on weekends now. Back in the days, it used to be people with a flag, Chinese doing that. Now you have a group of foreigners that walks the streets and learn about the history of the neighborhood where they're living. I'm sure you two must have done it or have thought of doing it. Westbound is also developing well, obviously because of lifestyle and different reasons, but you're a dog owner. So, right now there's a lot of people that own dogs and want to walk the street with their dogs. So there's a lot of pet-friendly places that are opening all around. Another effect of COVID and lockdown, right? The amount of people owning dogs is amazing right now, and the care to it. So Westbound has a bright future in that extent too, because it provides outdoor entertainment, pet-friendly, F&B retail concept on top of that, and you got to see the Huangpu River. It's also one of those places that have a bright future when it comes to retail.
Yeah, very interesting, and I think I'm happy to hear that you're optimistic about the future of Shanghai, and also from my point of view, I see a lot of tourists coming here, a lot of people are on the streets again, and it makes me very happy because Shanghai is my home. So as a last question, I would be interested, without thinking about a budget or any other restrictions, if you could choose an area or a specific building to live in, to make it your own home, where or what building would it be?
Wherever in Shanghai.
Wherever in Shanghai.
Wow.
I hope you say Puxi first, right? Or would it be Pudong?
No. I mean, I've always been living in Puxi all my life. Probably changed 15 times of apartments since I'm here, so I have a pretty good idea of districts. It will definitely be a standalone villa along Huashanlu. You know, there's some extremely beautiful villa over there with wide gardens where, you know, basically in a historical architectural places that is really imposing. So I will pick one of these places, you know, around Huashan Road or Fuxing Road, where you have a great access to walking outside. You know, you can take your kids out, you can go to the park. You're also quite core downtown, where you can meet friends easily, but you're not too far away from airports, from a highway perspective. Yeah, I like that neighborhood. This is where I will pick my home, and this is where I'm living actually. But if you ask me, you know, how I will upgrade myself or pimp myself, yes, I'll definitely acquire one of these big villas over there.
That's good. So if your dream comes true one day and you have a housewarming party, we would be very glad to be invited. Thank you so much, Zino, for your expertise.
To the barbecue, no worries.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Zino. Our pleasure.
Been a real pleasure to be here.